I've tried to film this video 3 different times. Hello nerds and nerdettes, welcome to Mana Brain. So today we're talking about some of the unwritten rules of Commander. Now the reason I filmed this thing 3 different times, I couldn't figure out a way how to make this video not incredibly boring. So we're just going to kind of run through some of them. Hopefully the frustration will kind of feed into some of the emotion. But the first thing we need to get out of the way is, why are there unwritten rules of Commander? Because the thing is, there is a ton of rules in Magic the Gathering as a whole. So what are the unwritten rules? These are things that deal with etiquette or just being a good player. And the first rule that is regularly ignored is do not play based off of the previous game. I wanted to get this one out of the way because this is the most annoying. So what typically happens is, if I'm playing against someone and say I win with a particularly aggressive strategy, in order for the other person to win, they might assume I'm regularly playing a more aggressive strategy, and they might play more aggressively against me, blowing up things that are incorrectly threat assessed, or things that aren't actually threats but like bit them in the ass last game, so now they don't really want to deal with that again. And they tend to neglect the different, more prominent threats at the table. Now, can someone win through the same strategy? Yes. If I'm playing my Turgid deck, I'm not going to expect someone to let Turgid get on the battlefield just because there might be something that might be a little bit more threatening, because accurate threat assessment does factor in things such as things that could be a threat as opposed to the immediate board state. Okay, unspoken rule number 2. Always mulligan a 1-land hand. There are exceedingly rare circumstances where this is actually okay. Unless you know exactly what you are doing, do not do this. But if I have turn 1 Sol Ring and 3 mana on my next turn, why would I get rid of that? Believe me, I understand the temptation of wanting to have Sol Ring in your hand and also wanting to be able to cast that so that way you have turn 2, 3 mana on the board. Problem is, Sol Ring is much more likely to get blown up, and do get blown up much more frequently than lands. You want to have the guaranteed thing, because here's also the other thing too. Shuffling a 100 card deck is not as statistically spread out as like a standard 52 card deck, just because of the size, so you tend to have things that kind of clump together. Another way to kind of frame this is, if you pull 7 cards in a row and only one of them is a land, that does not bode well for the current shuffle in your deck. So you might want to reconsider things. Now that last unwritten rule was a little bit more for beginner players, because that was something that I had to kind of learn. This next unwritten rule is something I kind of learned more through playing Arena, and I had to have someone tell me this at Friday Night Magic. Now, the simple way of saying this is, do not cast instant spells at sorcery speed, which means if you have an instant, you generally want to cast it on the other person's turn. So let's say I'm playing up against a Voltron player and I have a instant speed card that tells them to sacrifice target creature. Now, let's go with Soul Shatter specifically, because it can be very, very targeting. So if I cast Soul Shatter on my turn, that player now knows that they have to assess for the loss of that creature. However, if you cast that Soul Shatter on your opponent's turn, on that Voltron player's turn, 1, they might have tapped a lot more mana to cast something with a higher mana cost, which might be a bigger threat, or if they beef up that creature with a whole bunch of enchantment auras, and you still cast that Soul Shatter, you get rid of the creature and you wasted the mana that they used to put the enchantments on that creature, and they basically wasted a turn, which gives you that tempo advantage. And now that brings up the last unwritten rule that I really wanted to talk about, and because this one's after the game is done, which is, we are all a few cards away from winning. You don't have to say it. Now, I do want to address the positivity part of, it's understandable to want to figure out how close you were to winning, so that way you can see where your deck went a little bit wrong. The other part that this does is, this diminishes the victory of the person who just won. And that's kind of a dick move. Again, I understand the temptation, but effectively you're bringing someone else down to build yourself up. I just wanted to point that out, because a lot of people don't think about that, because they just like make offhanded remarks and they just kind of go with it. Now, with those out of the way, just understanding these rules will make you, if not a better player, will make you a more fun person to play against. And honestly, that's the reason why a lot of people play Magic, is they just want to share the hobby that they enjoy. And sometimes that's a little hard to find. So with that being said, I hope you enjoyed the unwritten rules. And if you do have any unwritten rules that you think I should go over, or that you see that I don't, please leave a comment. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Now you're in the video. Nope. Or not. Do you want to be in the video too? No? This is Raven, by the way.